Okay, guys, this should be the final part. This will be part 3 of the Denny Howell TBI interview.
We had a gentleman come in the restaurant, or we're leaving, we sitting there eating, he come on to me and said, Denny, he said, I think y'all need to investigate the death of Buford Buster. And some guy named Willard Summer from Raymond, he's something else too. But I wasn't gonna tell him that Jack sitting there nothing else. So I said, well, Willard, let me tell you how it's being handled. We turned it over to TBI, and they're doing a very, very thorough investigation. Well, somebody needs to, we'll deal out. I looked up at me and said, boy, I'm proud you didn't tell him who I was. And, well, I've got my ideas. He said, yeah, I read your idea. I said, wait a minute. How'd you read my idea? He said, I read your statement. I said, what statement? He said, what's on the accident report? I said, I said, yep, it's in there. He said, I'll let you read it when we get through eating it. He cared about the car. Here, I'll show you that. I read it. I want to kill that fucker. Of course, Paul Irvin was super that time. He's going to work the wreck. And Paul came to me. We talked to Buford. Angie was my little niece, lived next door at that time. She was probably 10, 11, 12-year-old. And I went to the fair. And Buford came in Memphis where he just signed himself to play. He's going to play Buford in the last movie. That night he got kicked. And Paul got a rumor. I talked to him. Paul and I were good friends. And he came out here one night and said, I hear you talking to Buford. Right before he got killed. Justice Monday. And what would you say? I said, not a word. I said, he just told me that he was coming in from River Heights, Bluff, or whatever, Memphis. He signed a contract to play himself. One word I could play myself. I said, well, you're able to, you know it. And of course, thrill Angie to death. Seeing Buford. And Paul said, what kind of shape would you say he's in? I said, well, he's getting around fine. I said, do you mean, was he drinking a little? Yeah, he's drinking a little. But I said, this is off the record. This is just me and you talking. But
This is off the record. This is just me and you talking. Was he drinking a little? Yeah. Yeah, he's drinking a little. Well, that's funny because the police report, accident report, FBI report, all of them said alcohol and drugs was not present. No evidence of alcohol and drugs. This is off the record, he tells the trooper. Isn't it funny how Mr. Howell, everything that he says is off the record. Everything he says is rumor or speculation. Off the record. He thinks whatever he says, as long as it's off the record, he can just say whatever he wants. Guys, if you're telling the truth, it don't have to be off the record. If you're telling the truth about something, you're telling the truth. If somebody's drinking and you know that they're drinking, then you tell it. It don't have to be off the record because it's the truth. But if you're making something up and you're trying to throw a bone out there to the trooper, something where he can have something to go on or look at somebody else, then this is off the record. I want you to look at this, but I don't know nothing about it. It's nonsense. This man right here is...
I says, I knew he was drinking the first time I saw him walking down the driveway. Coming in, I said, his speech was bad, and when he got to sipping low, his speech still got worse. So he slurred. So I could tell that's 4 minutes.
His speech was bad. Man's had half his jaw blown off, and his speech was bad. Heard somebody else say one time because Buford stuttered. Buford was stuttering, and they thought he was drinking. But yet I heard Mr. Roush get on that stage that day of the press conference, David Roush, TBI director, and they asked him a question. He stuttered for 5 minutes before he answered the question. I wonder if anybody thought maybe he'd been nipping a little bit. What if somebody would have said, well, he's been nipping because he's stuttering? Would that be fair? Would that be honest? Would that be okay to do? Somebody in that position just because he's stuttering? I think he was stuttering because the reporter, the question he asked had really screwed him up. He knew that people wasn't buying what they was selling, but irrelevant. Whether he was stuttering from that or stuttering from substance abuse, whatever he was stuttering from, whether he was just had a stutter at the time. Doesn't say one thing or another. Rumors, guys. Rumors, innuendos.
The Christmas tree on it. And what I see how that's good. But he was correct. I didn't know Paul. After I told him, I
Paul Irvin didn't put that in the report. Paul Irvin put that his niece smelled alcohol on him. Denny Howell's telling the TBI here that he told him, yeah, he was drinking. I could tell because his speech was slurred and man's had half his jaw shot off. Had a speech problem after that, but wouldn't have nothing to do with that. He was drinking. But yet Paul Irvin didn't put nothing Denny Howell said. It said Denny Howell's niece had smelled alcohol.
I will tell you that, and then I told him when this law for record, we ain't recording it with them. He put her in the book. Accident report.
This is off the record, but yet he put his niece in the report, the accident report.
It's funny you say that. I got that file. I got Jack Blackwell's file.
Then he went over and talked to my little niece next door about it all. So I think maybe put her straight there. I got that when I saw the kid. I told you it was off record. He said, man, I had so many people out of Nashville after me. He says, I had to really do something. He had to change that accident report 2 or 3 different times, I think.
Had changed that accident report 2 or 3 different times. That's where Mike Elam got it at, guys. This is where Mike Elam got it at. Where Mike Elam says that he changed the report. This is the bird right here that told Mike Elam, in my opinion. In my opinion, because there's never been any evidence that an accident report was ever changed. Period. Never. FBI report. Never. Do you think they would really... Paul Irvin really told the FBI a lie, that he lied to the FBI concerning an accident report? Or he didn't show the FBI all these 5 or 6 accident reports that he had done and turned in, and they rejected them and gave them back to him? This is Mr. Howell talking. This is how it come about.
I don't know about that, but I know we've got, and I can't believe why some people just get in these conspiracies, but I trust Jack Blackwell, or did as much as anybody, and when he finalized his report, they sent them tie rods to the FBI, and the FBI gave a report, which is in the file, so there ain't a darn thing wrong with them. They ain't been manipulated. Now today, if you'd sent it to today's FBI, I don't know.
Whoa, listen, we're going to talk about the FBI. I thought you had an FBI agent, or at least a task force agent sitting beside of you. But if you sent it to them today, what would the difference be? What are you implying there, Mr. Parsons? Guys, he's talking about the tie rod that was sent in. Why would we be concerned about the tie rod but not concerned about a DUI? a breath test, a blood test. Why? If the man had an 18 alcohol and the FBI didn't have it in the report, that's as big as the tie rod. You wouldn't have to worry about the tie rod. If Buford Pusser had a blood alcohol of 0.18, you don't have to worry about a tie rod. They can say it was a tie rod all day long. They can say it was somebody had cut his brake line. They can say anything they want. If that man had a blood alcohol 18 and driving 100 miles an hour in a Corvette, he's lost control and got killed. Why wouldn't they, FBI, you think the FBI wouldn't have loved to have had that evidence? That would have taken care of the case, period. You got a blood alcohol? Didn't happen, guys. Because if the FBI would have had that, it would have made their job so much easier. They could have just come back and said, hey, man was DUI. Here's the blood alcohol. There's never been a blood alcohol of 18 or even a 1, even a 0.08. Never been nothing with blood alcohol content saying Buford Pusser was drunk, much less drinking.
Old Joe Burkins was run the record, picked the old Corvette up the night he wrecked the kid. I would have got the record, my phone rang, I wouldn't answer because my record was in night. Joe, a few days later, when after all this started about the tire rod break, said, Joe looked over at me, he says, you know what broke that tire rod? I said, I got a feeling. He said, yep. He said, I hooked that J hook, that sucker that's been so hot, that hot product. But
yeah, it's just alcohol and speed don't go together.
Guys, listen to your detective. Listen to your TBI detective. Now, he just told you guys that he saw the FBI report, 54-page report. He saw it. And he saw where they went through and x-rayed and they did all this to the tie rod and was checking the tie rod. And then he comes back and says alcohol and speed doesn't mix. Guys, Google FBI files. Go to the archives and punch in Buford Pusser. It will show you everything about Buford Pusser that's ever been there, including a 54-page report in August 21st, 1974, when Buford Pusser wrecked his Corvette and was killed. And you will see a 4-page accident report, a police report, a drug chemistry report. No evidence of drugs or alcohol on each one of them. No evidence. Coroner's report, all of it is in the FBI report. The FBI did a thorough report on this because they wanted to rule out Buford Pusser had been murdered. They wanted to do that for Helen Pusser. Mr. Parsons just now said, well, alcohol and speed don't mix. There was no proof. There's never been any proof of alcohol at all. Speed, I think that's apparent with the skid marks Sheila and I do. We've discussed the skid marks. We've discussed the speed. We've discussed the tires, the 500 Firestone tires that had been recalled. As they got up to higher speeds, they had a problem blowing out. Probably blew a tire out, lost control, and wrecked and killed himself. There's never been anything of alcohol. You just had a detective right here to say alcohol and speed don't mix. He went right along with what Mr. Howell just told him. And that's how your rumors get started. That's how your hearsay, your innuendos get started. How can a detective with any kind of credentials, with any kind of experience, with any kind of sit there and listen to a man? He said he looked at the FBI report. He saw the report. Report says no evidence of alcohol or drugs. He sat there and listened to Mr. Howell. Mr. Howell just convinced him that Buford was drinking. Buford was drunk. What an investigator. And would you all wonder where we got to that press conference on August the 29th, 2025 from?
like Jack called me one night. Eddie Bond.
This guy here, Mr. Howell, is a lot like Mike Elam. They blow up an onion sack. And as long as you want to sit there and listen to him, he'll keep shoveling it on. He can come up story after story. He's had a long life to repeat, a long life to make this stuff up, a long life to shovel it out there. Ask him where the report is. Why didn't Detective Parsons say, how do you know this for a fact? I didn't see that in the FBI report. Oh, yeah, it's in the report. That's what Sheila and I did. It may be on Sheila's page, Hatfield McCoy Museum Adventures. We called him. I called him once, then Sheila called him. And then he mentioned the report. We asked him, where's that at? Oh, I saw it in the report. You saw it? Yeah, I saw it. Where's it at? Well, it's probably in the accident report, he said. And I said, no, it's not in the accident report. Nobody's ever seen it. Oh, I saw it. Okay, where is it? He's telling one, guys. He's telling one. There's never been nobody to see a report of blood alcohol content on Buford Pusser 1974 of 0.18. He made that up. He made it up and told Mike Elam. Mike Elam put it in a book. Mike Elam put it on his podcast. He just now told a TBI agent the same story. And within 3 seconds of him telling that TBI agent that story, the TBI agent says, well, alcohol and speed don't mix. There's never been any indication at all. Never been any evidence, proof, physical evidence, BA report, blood, anything that would prove what he's saying is true. It's not there.
Been shot or shot at when the car's been hit down the guy's road. Well, Eddie Buford was big footed. He said, would you let me in the shop and examine this car tonight? I'm sure. Well, we've been Chevrolet place. Jack started going through Eddie's old car. I stood there beside him, looked up, I said, well, you go in and tell me. Well, that shot was fired from the inside. He grinned. He said, what do you think that? Well, this is where it's hitting there. Yeah. Oh, they shot it from the inside and they reported somebody shot him. And I believe Jack Blackwell. Yeah. So that's the first thing he shot. He saw when we sat down, he started looking. What he told me, he says, look, the bullet hole. Yeah. Bullet hole. I said, what you're trying to tell me is that bullet hole come from the inside. Yep. That's right.
You seen it?
If he's talking about the 1967 ferry, the way I understood it, Sheila and I, the shot did come from the inside to the front windshield. Went from the inside out the front windshield. That's one of the 5 shots that come through the back windshield, Mr. Howell. There was at least 5 bullet holes in the back windshield, 2 of which hit Pauline's head. 1 hit the dashboard, 1 went out the front windshield. That's why it came from the inside out, because it came from the outside in through the back windshield. And then they pulled up alongside Buford's car, side by side, and shot sideways and shot Pauline in the side, the left side of her head, and went out the right side of her head and out the passenger window, broke that glass out, and that's where her skull, a piece of her skull, was laying in the ditch. That Dennis Hathcock just happened to be stopping on the side of the road with his motorcycle when he noticed a piece of her brain, her skull, laying in the ditch line, because he was putting his kickstand down. That's funny, because he was heading in the opposite direction, and the kickstand would have been on the left-hand side. Motorcycle would have been leaning towards the center line, not towards the ditch line. He wouldn't have been looking at the ditch. He would have been looking down at his kickstand. Wow.
enough of them, they're pretty easy to determine directionality.
Jack was a good man.
Yeah, he sure was.
If you've worked enough of them, it's pretty easy to determine the direction of a bullet, he says. That's true. Bullet was going outside. The bullet went outside the front windshield because it came in the back windshield. Mr. Parsons doesn't say that, whether he doesn't know it, whether he's... Well, I'm telling you what, guys, for 30 years, it's hard to believe that...
I don't know if you knew Jimmy Leach.
Yeah.
I got to work around Jimmy a lot more than I did. I knew Jack, and my old boss, his daughter was Jack Blackwell's daughter, and he married. They lived over here. They live over near White. Yeah, and that's my old boss. But that's how I got to know Jack before he passed. And,
Yeah, I hate that. Jack was a good man.
but Jimmy Leach is still alive. He's still around. I have coffee with him every now and
That's
then.
Robert Lee's buddy.
That's Robert Leach, buddy. Old Jimmy fan. Yeah. He's still kicking.
Robert called me this, recovered some kind of stolen vehicle. Called me to come get it. Well, we got up there, and she all introduced you to the fellow. This is Jimmy Leach. Yeah, I've heard the name. Back then, everybody was involved in everything.
Oh yeah. But back then too, TBI, they were just like with Warren Jones and Sloan. I think they might have been the only two TBIs probably in West Tennessee. They were scattered out across the state. There wasn't a whole lot of them.
Warren covered a big area. And was he really a trained agent, or did he just go to work for him?
Now he started out with the FBI, but I want to say he started out like in their latent prayer. He did something like in evidence. Like I don't know that he was like the G-man, like you see but he started out with the FBI under J. Edgar Hoover, and then I'm guessing I don't know really what their training regiment was like back then, but I mean, for everything I know about Warren Jones, he was a really good investigator.
He's a good man.
I don't know that much about John Sloan. I don't hear a lot of good things about him. But
Yeah, like right.
Don't hear a lot of good things about John Sloan, but hear a lot of good things about Warren Jones. Wow. Mr. Howell says, yeah, Warren Jones was a good agent. And Parsons says, John Sloan, don't hear a lot of good things about him. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? The people that talk about everybody bad, that if you've got something bad to say about Buford Pusser, they're good. If they've got something good to say about Buford Pusser, they're bad. He's sitting here talking about a fellow TBI agent that he doesn't hear a lot of good things about, John Sloan. But he does about Warren Jones. Warren Jones didn't give polygraphs to these people, took it up to the Mississippi. All these different things that Warren Jones did. He's been in a car wreck or a marijuana field. There's something. We still haven't got to the bottom of it. We're getting 2 or 3 different reports. But there's at least 2 or 3 agents killed in a car that he was driving. We don't know if he was speeding. We don't know if he was reckless. We don't know if he was impaired. We don't know if he was impaired. That may be the very one that started the rumor on Buford Pusser being impaired. You know, a lot of times people point some fingers to take. I don't know. I'm speculating here, using my opinion. But isn't that funny that they wanted to say that about Buford Pusser? Buford Pusser didn't kill nobody but himself. Warren Jones killed 2 or 3 other TBI agents from what we're hearing. What is that? Where's the autopsies on these agents? What's the blood alcohol content, if any? What was the blood alcohol content of Warren Jones at that time? Now, this man here says, Parsons does, that, yeah, Warren Jones, he worked for the FBI. Warren Jones, guys, was a fingerprint technician. He looked at fingerprints. No training. No training. You took a microscope, you looked for your lines and different things to compare. He may have just filed them. I don't know if he was an analyst or just filed them away under a certain person's name, and But he wasn't an FBI agent. He worked for the FBI. He was employed by the FBI for a little while as a fingerprint filer. He filed fingerprints. What is that? Just because it says FBI to it, there's all kinds of thousands of people that work for the FBI that's not FBI agents or trained. Let's go on and see what they got here to say about Warren Jones.
I heard he got in a little trouble over in Savannah, and that's why he ended back in the day, you know, they safety would, next thing you know, you're in Johnson City. You know, so.
I might know a little about that.
Yeah.
I might know a little bit about that, Denny Howell says. He says that John Sloan got in a little bit of trouble. Next thing you know, you're over in Johnson City. Hal says he might know a little thing about that. He's like Mike Elam, guys. He can shovel it out faster than you can scoop it up in a backhoe. Let's see what he says about it. Let's see what he can make up on this.
I think I've heard a little bit about that.
Might know a little about that.
They actually got fired, I think. He got fired, and then they actually brought him
Got
back.
fired up there.
Yeah.
But,
So the very people that's investigating Buford Pusser was fired. At least one of the agents, according to TBI agent Mike Parsons, one of the agents that was investigating the Pauline Pusser case was actually fired. What was he fired for? So we've got two agents here, Warren Jones and John Sloan. At least John Sloan is fired, they said. We're missing the file. John Sloan says the last time that he saw that file was in 1976 when Warren Jones told him to update it. Told him to update the file from 1967. He updates the file and turns it back in. In 1983, they're looking for the file. Warren Jones says he gave it to John Sloan. John Sloan says, no, I updated it and gave it back to Warren Jones. So it lays between the two of them. The file's missing, been missing ever since. That's the two agents dealing with the Buford Pusser case. And they wonder why it was so messed up that even the evidence is missing. Even the physical evidence is missing.
he worked for a good friend of mine, which I owned a bail bond agent in Johnson City.
Yeah. I've heard of that. I know.
For years and years and years. But he's an investigator and everything else for him. And running bounties down. But, John,
Listen to him, guys. Listen to him. He's rattling that brain right now. He's getting ready to tell a story, but he's got to get it together in his head here first. Let me see what I can come up with here.
not the best man around. He,
John was not the best man in the world, or something like that, he said. Wow. Imagine someday when this man's passed away, how people that listens to these tapes is going to talk about him the way he talked about other deceased people. Wow, incredible.
John done what John pretty well wanted to do.
Oh, okay, so that's what he knows, guys. He sat there for 5 minutes trying to think of what he could say about John Sloan, and what he come up with was John done pretty much what John wanted to do. Oh, that's what they fired him for. John done it his way.
I remember the night that Alexander was elected governor, I guess it was. And our representative, Mr. Herman Wilson, was out. Elected over with, we went to Savannah with Herman's house. This part of her do y'all want in McNair County? What do y'all need? We don't need nothing. We just want to congratulate you. Are you sure you don't want to? You kind of need something to, he said, we got a president, both senator, and now a governor. He said, if we can't get nothing now, we don't need nothing. Talked to him a while. I says, he said, ain't you got a trip or something you want to school? I said, yeah, I have. I said, he's supposed to have been hired for the plastic, but they didn't hire him. He was top on the list, dude. I said, David Kilworth, they'd go to work. He wanted a job, he worked in the city. But I see, he's still over in college, degree. And he said, okay, I'll put his name. And that's the only thing I asked. I said, we got one man. If you just take him to Chester County or Madison County or just wherever, I don't care. But I says, John Sloan, the only time that we ever need him, he ain't available. He's done something else, retired him, survived, he's sold something. He won't never help. Very tough. Unless you don't want him. And if you don't want him, he'll be the one there to start with. But, and I said, we got a captain in Jackson, Tennessee, over the highway patrol. That,
Well, he told him when he asked him if you want anything, if you need anything. No, we don't need nothing. We're good. We don't need nothing, Governor. Well, he ain't shut up.
we don't want him back in McNair County. He was a visitor. Alone as a trooper.
Well, politics, guys. Politics is a funny and terrible thing when it deals with law enforcement.
I left it there. Well, 2 or 3 months later, 6 months later, I guess, the phone rang out the AAA police. Max was hurt.
Boy, he's got pretty good clout for a record driver, isn't he? Pretty good clout to be a parts man at Sibling Chevrolet and cleans cars out and drives a wrecker, a tow truck. This is a tow truck driver. Powerful man, tow truck driver.
Denny, how y'all doing down there? I'm doing fine, son. How you doing? He said, well, he says, is Johnson City's far enough? I said, I done forgot what we even talking about then, I said, now what are you talking about Johnson City? He said, Sloan. No, Sloan, Jackson man first. Yep, you can't get him in Kentucky or Virginia.
Wow.
He'll be there. Said he got 3 days when they're notified.
Outstanding man right here, guys, my opinion. My opinion, you got at least 2 sitting there in that living room right now that's just 2 outstanding fellas, legends in their own minds.
And old Melton, they told him he's gone. Well, one few days, he says, Johnson said you okay? I said, well, you weren't talking about Sloan. And the funny part about Sloan, we just had a wrestling match in Henderson, sponsored by the FOP. Well, Sloan helped us, that night. We'd all work in the FOP, sandwiches or whatever.
Don't forget, guys, this guy here is a special deputy. This guy's here is a fee deputy, a free deputy, a volunteer deputy. This guy here is somebody that doesn't have the intestinal fortitude to do it full time and be a full-fledged police officer. But like he says, if there's a dinner to go to, if there's somewhere to be seen, and maybe even wear a uniform and play the part, just don't Just don't get me to go on any raids. Don't ask me to go on any raids with Buford Pusser where there's going to be moonshine stills busted up or nightclubs that's shut down. I don't want none of that. But now, I'll go to a FOP party. I'll show up there and
Pump himself on the chest and all that kind of stuff. That ain't gonna mess with no Sloan. He knows too much on everybody. I didn't say a word to nobody, no word from him. That's the day they just called and told me he'd been running some citizens next week. So, it's all over with. A few days later, hey, did you hear about Sloan? I was what about? He got transferred. I said, really? I think Johnson said. Pretty good piece, then, ain't it? Only time I ever dabbled anybody in my life as far as living is concerned, but as much as he's done with us, I decided, hey, I'll help him if I can. Now his wife, I thought the world Jenny.
She just passed here this past year, and his son still lives over at Crump, I think.
Did he ever get on TBI?
His son? No.
He tried everywhere in the world.
He might have. That might have been some name recognition. I don't know.
Don't think he ever made it.
Yeah.
Gina was a good girl. You'll find out.
Last time I saw her, she was working back before she left State Park down at Pickwick. She was working down there at State Park.
She worked there many, many years. She worked, before that, she worked at, was it Aggie?
Yeah, sure did. Sure did. Did you know Floyd Mangrum?
Who?
Floyd Mangrum?
No, never heard of it.
Never heard of him?
Sure, I knew Floyd.
You talking about them? You was talking about them shipping Sloan off to Johnson City. Well, I just talked to Floyd a few months ago. He's living up near North. He was telling me, he said, yeah, they tried to pull that stuff on me, and he said, I tell you what, because he said when they moved him down here from Nashville to McNairy County, they told him, get married, join a church, buy a house, you'll never be moved again. He said within 2 years, they called him and said, hey, we need you to go to Johnson City. They need a polygrapher up there or something. And he's like, not going to do it. And he turned him stuff in.
You know what got that? He talked to commissioner. Son-in-law or something up in a drug thing. They had him on undercover.
Yeah.
So I was told, but no, I always thought the world.
Well, he's still around. I talked to him several months ago, but he seems like he's doing
He's a
okay.
good friend of mine.
But I guess he's retired from Woodman, too.
I think Mr. Howell, might be better off be your enemy as a friend. In my opinion is there's some people in life you're probably better off being an enemy of as a friend.
Doing anything right now.
He's been in bad shape. Is he doing okay now?
Well, that's what he's not. It's not necessarily assisted living, but where he's at is up there near some of his family. He's got diabetes real bad.
Oh, he's
That's north of there. He was kind of real. He wouldn't really tell me. I guess he's like,
yeah, he's from.
but it's north where he's at.
But he came here to replace Sloan.
Yeah, he was the one that got sent down here to replace Sloan. Because I talked to him about it, and he's like, he said, I don't know what the file says, but he says if it says that it was assigned to me in the file, he said that's okay. But he said I never touched that case whatsoever. He said I didn't do a thing with it, and so that's why I had called him.
John Sloan. Big investigator on that one, wasn't he?
Him and Warren both. I think Warren on the front end, it might have been, I think it.
Well, one picture they're showing, if you've read Mike Elam's book, he got some of the pictures in it that was made on their old car in the shop working on it. And John Sloan was one of the ones that was doing the investigation, and he got the picture making it in the old car there in the shop.
That's the weird stuff about that case is there's so much stuff that's floating out there that's like TBI today. You would never get a picture or anything like that in a million years to be out in the public like that of anything that cases we're working on.
Of course not. You can't keep up with them. TBI can't keep up with them long enough to let them get out into the public. You guys are getting yours from Bill Way and the newspaper. You're getting them from W.O. Morris. You're getting them from book authors that put those photographs in books from the newspaper. Wow. Listen to this. No, you wouldn't be getting it from the TBI. Yeah, but TBI's done lost theirs.
But, I mean, there's crime scene photographs out there just online. You look up and like, how did that get released to the public, you know? So, it was different.
Probably the missing files from the TBI themselves. That's probably your files, Mr. Parsons. Probably the TBI files that you guys are missing that made their way to the internet. Wow. Just like these tapes that we make and these speeches that we give on these interviews that nobody's going to ever know about this but me and you. Nobody's ever going to know that I even talked to you. But yet, you say, give me their name and I'll shake my head. I'll let you know if I've talked to them or not and so forth. Come on. Give me a break.
Well, I don't know who released all those pictures of the old patrol car.
I know Bill Way took them. I know he was the top
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's who took them. Newspaper guy took them.
But a lot of those were made in that old shed I was talking about.
Out behind the garage. Or...
You know, turn them in our bike shop. You can see our paint booth, our paint shelter while the paint station. The one I'm talking about, Jimmy Delane was in the picture. And old Jack Coppman, Denny, he was the game warden. John Wesley Coppman. Their picture was in one of them.
And there's one of them, Jim Moffat's in there too. One of those.
Yeah, Jim Moffat. Jim was a good friend of mine. Jim was a good man.
Jim ever tell you what he thought about it? Did y'all ever have any conversations about that?
Little.
He didn't buy it either, did he?
Jim was a good man. Jim was a good friend of mine. You guys ever have any conversations about Buford or anything like that? No. Wow. How good a friend was he? He may have been like I am. He may have knew who to stay away from. Wow, you would think that if he was a good friend of Mr. Howell's and all these stories that Mike Elam's made up, that Jim Moffitt told everybody in the country that if something happened to him, look at Buford Pusser. Jim Moffitt told everybody in the country, according to Elam, that Buford beat his wife up 3 days before he killed her. He told everybody that Buford killed his wife, but yet nobody else has ever heard that. Nobody's heard that except Mike Elam on his podcast and in his books and in this so-called statement that somebody's wrote up on a 1960s typewriter. Isn't that something? Mr. Howell talks about everybody and their brother. Most of them bad, in a bad way. Ask about Jim Moffitt, good friend of mine, but he ever talked to you about it? No, never did. Never did. He's told everybody in the country that Buford killed his wife, according to Mike Elam.
No. Jim, he's quiet.
Jim was quiet. Elam says he never shut up. Elam says he told everybody, guys. Sorry to keep reiterating it and beating a dead horse, but which one is it? He says he's a good friend of Jim Moffitt's. Jim was a quiet man. Mike Elam from Benton, Arkansas, says Jim told everybody in the country Buford beat and killed his wife. Who are we to believe?
Jim Moffat, he told us something you can write it down.
Good man.
Jim Moffitt told you something, you could write it down. It's what his daughter said. Daughter said she never heard her dad say anything in the world, not one statement bad about Buford Pusser. His nephew stated a while back on a live podcast me and Sheila had that he never heard Uncle Jim say anything bad about Buford Pusser or that Buford Pusser was ever involved in anything illegal or bad. It's good enough for us.
And when James Oakle was elected sheriff, of course, he didn't know about sheriff's office anymore, was hardly. But he told me, he said, I got up from hell. He said, what do you think about Moffat?
guess. He ended up retiring down there, didn't he?
Oh, no.
Or did he leave when James Opal left, I guess?
I'm not even sure. He made, let's see.
Because Paul came in after James Opal, right? Or was that, did I get that crossed?
Yeah, I don't think Jim worked for Paul.
That's right, that's right.
But he worked for Gifford. Of course, he was chief deputy there for a year, and then chief deputy for James Opal.
Yeah.
He ran for sheriff on the independent ticket. Of course, the sheriff, when Gifford, when they didn't put him out the last time, Jim came to me and I said, Jim, don't run, don't ask. But I said, they're not gonna put you out because of your customer. And then, of course, he went anyhow, but they didn't put him out. So he came to me and he says, I'm gonna run independent, for sure. Jim, don't do that, wait 2 years and then you come back and ask for it and they'll put you in. I'll do like this. And he did, so didn't win.
May have split some votes up, I guess, to help.
Yeah, that was
Get James Opal in there.
Against him then. Of course, when James Opal got elected, well, James Opal knew that. I thought James Opal, he got 4 years off, that's a lot harder than that. And he did. Well, he had to have some help, be done on that. No deputies, first night James Opal took over 12 o'clock midnight. There was 2 deputies, 1 deputy. No, there's 2. I talked them into keeping one of Clifford Cole's deputy, the name of Robert Evans.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, for a record driver, this guy, he should have been the mayor. He should have been the county judge or something. This guy, to be nothing more than a record driver, this guy's he's running McNairy County. Goodness sakes. If you listen to him now, we've talked to other people while we were in McNairy County and Adamsville, and we've talked to several since. They don't feel the same way. In fact, they feel, the ones we've talked to, maybe that's just the ones we happen, but the ones that we have asked about, Denny Howell, we have got a response about like Denny Howell has on most of the people he likes to give a response to. We haven't, I'll have to check with Sheila, but I don't think we've run up on the first person that has anything good to say about Mr. Howell, somewhat like he is with most of the people he talks about. Huh.
James Opal, you got to have somebody. But me and Robert Evans was a help. When he came in 12:01 a.m. James Opal, no, never been into anything as far as law enforcement or anything else. He grew up on a farm. He worked at pipe mill for a little bit, but he had a college degree. He's a smart man, but he just laid back. You know, he wasn't into much stuff.
Sheriffing's a lot different now. I mean, I worked over in Wayne County for years back in the early 90s, and I remember my first sheriff lost the election, and the second sheriff came in and kept 2 of us. It was me and a boy that's a lieutenant with Highway Patrol now, and he got rid of everybody else. But he kept us, and as soon as I could get away, I got on with the city over there, got out of the sheriff's department. I ain't going through another election. They just come in and clean house back then. You know.
Well, they do that in cities too. You have a city mayor, whether it's a county sheriff or a mayor, every 4 years, or at least in most states, it's 4. Some, I guess in McNairy County, it looked like it was 2 for a sheriff. But every election, the mayor and the sheriff, they can hire and fire at will.
A little different now. A lot of these places going to civil service and different things.
Well, that's what I told James Opal. James Opal, the people, and he carried everybody to the county, I think. Of course, a lot of them were predominantly heavy Democrats. But I said, you got the chance. What you need to do is, when you get your crew hired, hire people that you depend on that to work. But I said, see if you can't get some kind of civil service set up to where
Guys, can you imagine this fella here, working in the parts department at a Chevrolet garage, running a tow truck, and he's giving him advice to the TBI, to Warren Jones, to the governor of the state on how to get rid of John Sloan and transfer him to Johnson City. He's giving advice to the sheriff on how to go civil service. This man's. They didn't need nobody else there. They just needed. What's that movie at Wrecker on that cartoon? There's a Wrecker. Cars. It's called Cars or something. Goodness sakes. Mater. Oh, Mater, I believe's the old wrecker's name. He was just in charge and just everywhere about everything. That sounds like old Mr. Howell here. Start calling him Mater.
He's a good man, though. Lost him, 2 years ago?
Well, we took up more of your time than I thought we would take up. I didn't intend to stay here that long, but I just want to come meet you.
Glad to meet you, sir.
Good visit.
Yeah. Maybe next time Terrell's in town, get him to come back over. We'll come see you.
Do you know Terrell lived in?
No, I didn't, but I knew I did not see him around.
He's up close to his family.
Well, I think he lost his daughter.
Yeah.
I like killed both of them.
Yeah, and I think he stayed because that's where she was at. I think he stayed up there.
Well, now Terrell came here from.
Crockett County.
I think he is from Alamo Bells up there.
Yeah,
Yep. He sure is. Yeah.
Oh, he moved when his daughter was working with TBI.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Yeah.
When Leah was working with TBI.
And he was there when Terrell retired from TBI. He was private investigating there for a while. Had some lawyers that would hire him, and it was kind of awkward. He'd come around to the Christmas parties and be like, "Terrell, I love you, but just can't really talk to you because I don't know what you're gonna go back and tell you. Your lawyer you're working for. Don't ask me about any cases."
Well, ain't that the pot calling the kettle black?
Terrell was quiet.
What's that?
He was kind of reserved.
Yeah, he was.
quiet.
He was.
What he knew, he pretty gonna keep.
Well, like most of us, most of the time you got those few that you can trust that you'll talk to, and essentially that's why I'm here, I guess.
How many years you got in with TBI?
I've been in 29 years, but I'm going on 13 years with TBI. I worked at the city of Jackson for a long time, but I started out my dad retired from TVA up at Pickwick, and we hunted and fished up near Clifton. So when I got out of the Army, my dad and mom had moved to Clifton. That's where I went and started out there, but worked about 8 years in Wayne County, and then I came over to Jackson. So.
Well, we saw a lot of difference in it.
I moved around quite a bit instead of just staying in one place for the most part. But I'm not going anywhere else till I'm done.
When you gonna retire?
Well, I'm going on 52, and we got mandatory retirement at 60. So I'm probably going about 8 more years, and I ain't gonna do nothing else, law enforcement related.
Are you sure? Maybe if a person saw this Buford Pusser case, when he gets out, he can start his own consultant firm or become an expert witness, and that's going to be a big thing on a person's collar to say, yeah, I was the lead investigator on the Buford Pusser case when we solved it. We convicted a dead man of murdering his wife after 58 years. I should be able to get some kind of stand for something for court purposes for a defense attorney somewhere that needs an expert witness to.
So what are you doing, Rod?
Well, I'm back at Selmer. I'm signed to FBI full
Now
time.
you was FBI in Selma, are we still one?
Yep, still there. I can go in 2 years. I don't know how. Well, I'm gonna
Well,
wait
you're
and
a
see.
baby.
I'm still good. Yeah. I started here at 22.
You're a baby.
22 years old. Robert Lee hired
Your
me.
daddy died?
He did. Yes, sir.
You have a lot of conversation with him.
Yep. He died in 18, May of 18.
You know what would be interesting? Just to hear that right there. I used to have a lot of conversations with him. Now, imagine if this young man, or ever how old he is, I'm sure he's younger than me, if he wasn't there, and if just Parsons was there, and then Parsons brought up this fella's dad's name and said, Denny, what do you think about? Can you imagine now? He just now bragged on young man's dad. But if he wasn't there, because that's to his face, I'd love to be able to, hindsight's 20/20, and be able to back up and then come in there with just Parsons and say, what'd you think about so-and-so? I can imagine what a person would hear right now. Or in my opinion, I can imagine.
Yeah, he dispatched a lot of records out, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. He worked there a good while, didn't he?
Paul Irvin told me one time that Daddy asked him what his 20 was. Paul sat there a minute and he said, Tulu. He said, dead radio silence. He said, after a few minutes, he said, Daddy said, Temple. He had no idea where Tulu was.
Tulu. I know where's that.
Yep, I do too now.
Used to be a big peanut warehouse there.
Yep. Well, come go with us.
Yeah.
We'll get you
We
into
don't
something.
play here. Not gonna run nobody down today.
We appreciate you opening the door for us.
Yeah, surely do. Good to meet you. Meet both of y'all.
You don't still go to the jail every now and then, do you? Are you still doing that?
Oh, you
You go down in it.
All,
They're still getting locked up.
you don't go all hours of the night still, do you?
They'll work with that.
I don't blame you.
no.
Y'all wait till in the morning. Y'all got yourself in there, you wait till I get up, right?
Well,
Sometime occasionally, maybe one of our friends is really a good customer, something might get in trouble, and we'll go out overnight. I said, wait a minute, I'm going to wait. I'll get dressed and get my stuff and get in the car and ride with her. But
because I don't do it late at night.
hey, your name again is what?
My name's Mike Parson.
Parsons.
Parson, kind of like the town of Parsons. I always get people say, "You from Parsons? Your last name's?" I was like, "Oh yeah." I make up a story every time. Like, yeah, my family founded the town of Parsons in 1703. And I make up something because I get that my whole life.
Breakfast time.
That's right, that's right.
But I'm from Corinth, Mississippi, born and raised. So
Between 6 and 7 in the morning. So I have to rise and shower.
Well, nice to meet you, sir.
nice to meet you. It's an honor to meet you. You know, like I said, most of it's for historical information because that era is slowly gone away, and there's very few people that are around that even have any knowledge anymore of what it was like back then. So,
Rodney, do you remember Larry Howell that worked
so yeah.
Hey, you talking about Jim?
Yeah.
His wife
Jim,
passed away.
he had a good idea of what
He
else.
called me yesterday
Yeah.
morning.
Well, his son O'Neill, his wife, which would be Jim's sister, daughter-in-law,
Yeah.
still lives here, and
Yeah.
I spoke to her a few times, and she gave some insight into what Jim thought. He would say things, but it seems like Jim was kind of concerned there for a while that he had to get out, or he may be killed too somehow.
Wow. Unbelievable, guys. Unbelievable. I was looking at the clock there, and I'm thinking they're getting up to leave, but they've still got another 20 or 30 minutes on this tape, it looks like. I'm up to 59. I'm up to 1 hour right now, so this is incredible what's getting ready to come up here. He's going with Mike Elam's story that Jim says he's got to get out of it or he's going to get killed. So this is going to be part 3. End of part 3. Stay tuned for part 4. Because like I said, I'm not going to cut these tapes in 2. I'll let them run their entirety. You can, if anybody wants to listen to these, can. If you don't, there's no law says you have to, of course. So hopefully there's something in them that might be of interest to somebody. But I think when we come back at part 4, it's going to get interesting with the way Mr. Parsons is starting to lead off with this comment. Thanks, guys. Catch you next time.